Welcome to the 2010 MLG Raleigh Bracket Show presented by Old Spice. I'm Shibby, and joining me today, we have D-Mac and Chris Puckett. Puckett has a little advantage heading into this one. He went to the 6-team LAN adventure, didn't you?
That's right, Shibby. You know, went out to Chicago, saw 6 of our top 8 teams play. Basically, a little preview of what we're going to see in Raleigh.
Hold on, though. There's no advantage coming into here, Richard, because while Puckett was over there riding Segways, picking ginger, and blow-drying his hair, I was at home watching the 6-team LAN. That's what I was doing.
But Shibby, he was watching one screen. I was watching 16.
Yeah, that's a good point right there. Good point. All right, well, we're headed into our third event of the 2010 Pro Circuit in Raleigh, August 27th to the 29th. The rosters are locked. The bracket is set. Let's take a look. All right, so since we don't know which teams will advance from the amateur bracket, we're going to have to move seeds 13 through 16 on to round 2, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so looking at the top half of the bracket, in round 2, we have Instinct versus Relentless, Heaven and Earth versus Darkest Hour, Status Quo versus Ambush, and Power taking on Straight Rippin'. So, you know, guys, we expect our Columbus champions to take down Relentless. Status Quo and Straight Rippin' are also expected to win their matchups this round. All right, but guys, we need to talk about the 8th seed versus the 9th seed, Heaven and Earth and Darkest Hour.
It's going to be an awesome matchup, Shibby. You know, really excited to see this one. Heaven and Earth, that strong side in Cypher from the last event, and they just added the new guy, Dursky. Right. It's my first time going to be seeing Dursky on a Friday night kickoff, and I have to say I'm pretty excited after talking to Captain Anarchy in Denver. He says the kid has an awesome BR and he's a great teammate.
When speaking of new players, Darkest Hour has a couple new players on their own. When you look at this Darkest Hour squad, now they've let Captain Anarchy go. He's on the other side. And now they pick up Goofy and a really good noob. A really good noob, obviously the player who's been making noise all season long through the Combine. And Goofy, you saw the headshot he had on Triggers Down. They have beaten top-tier teams, guys.
It was a bold play.
Yeah, it was a very bold play. And now they're here under the veteran leadership of Legend and an emerging superstar in Twilight. Darkest Hour suddenly looks like a top-team contender.
All right. Well, you know what? Now that we've taken a closer look at the teams and who's on it, let's get some prediction, guys. Who is going to win this matchup?
Darkest Hour.
Yeah, it's going to be Darkest Hour. They look very talented, definitely.
All right, guys. You guys seem to both agree that Darkest Hour is going to win this matchup. So Darkest Hour moves on. In the bottom half of the bracket, we have round 2 matches between Believe the Hype and Dynasty, Purgatory versus Carbon, Triggers Down versus Warriors, and Reign of Chaos versus Final Boss. I think we all can agree that Triggers Down and Final Boss, they're going to advance in these matchups. But we have 2 big matchups going on here in the bottom half of the bracket. Our 14th seed, Dynasty, they're going to be facing off against Believe the Hype. And, guys, we crowned this the Old Spice swagger match. Why?
Well, all you have to do is just look at the matchup. You look at this Dynasty squad, they are really good. It's 4 high-caliber players. And the reason that they have a 14th seed is because it's a brand-new squad. They have enough points to be as high as a 4th seed. They have a national champion in Clutch. They have the rising star in Toxic. And you know what? They also have 2 players who were on Believe the Hype last tournament in APG and Destin. They want revenge, and that's why this matchup, it's going to be huge.
Now, this is definitely going to be an awesome matchup, guys. I have to say, it's going to be really freaking sweet to watch Dynasty here. Now, Dynasty, it's 3 guys from the Dynasty that placed 4th in Anaheim last year, and they also have the national champion Clutch on the team. But they're going up against a team that was amazing at the LAN, and I'm talking about Believe the Hype. Believe the Hype added Snipe Down and Hines in between events, and I have to say, the new team chemistry is amazing. They send Maniac, Hines, and Snipe Down all flying at their opponent, while Demon D just sits back and snipes. He's like the anchor of the team. No other team uses this strategy, and I have to say, it worked on the other 5 teams at the LAN. I think Believe the Hype is going to be scary at the tournament. I expect them to take down Dynasty here.
And, you know, as good as this matchup is and as talented as the Dynasty squad is, I have to agree with you, Puckett. I think Believe the Hype, when they pick up Snipe Down and Hines, they take themselves from a top 4 team to a top 2 team. You know, essentially, they really could make that push. And that's why I Believe the Hype is going to get past Dynasty in round 2.
All right, guys, now let's talk about the 11th seeded Purgatory versus Carbon.
This is a very interesting match here. D-Mac, I'm going to start it off by talking about Purgatory. Now, Purgatory, not many people know who they are. It's basically Illuminati from last event, except this time around, they've got Killer Drew on the team. I really like the squad. Killer Drew, Gilkey, Karma, I expect all 3 of these guys to go off. And to be honest, what I really like about it is that they're young and they're hungry. Carbon, when you look at them, they're a little bit older. You know, SK's on the squad. I don't know if they necessarily have the best battle rifles on the circuit. I think Purgatory's going to bring it. They're going to catch Carbon sleeping early. I'm calling Purgatory.
And they might not have the best battle rifles on the Carbon squad, Puckett, but when you look at the leadership qualities that these players possess, Walshy, who has led national champions, SK, who had led the Triggers down, that was so dominant. These are very good players in their own right, and they've established a name for themselves. And let's not forget about Nated. We've seen him put a highlight reel together.
You know he's my favorite player.
Yeah, within one
you don't
tournament.
Have to tell me about Nated.
So I really feel like this Carbon team, even though I'm not as impressed as last tournament by the lineup, I still think they are a top team. And the veterans should be able to get by Purgatory here in round 2.
Guys, it sounds like you're in a complete disagreement here.
Yeah, I think we are. I'm going to go with Carbon. I'm jumping on the Carbon.
My prediction's correct. It's going to be Purgatory.
All right, guys. Well, Carbon, they placed higher at the last tournament, so Puckett, I'm sorry. Carbon advances. All right, guys. When we come back, we'll discuss round 3 matchups. Welcome back to the 2010 Raleigh Bracket Show, presented by Old Spice. We just finished round 2, and now it's time to take a look at our winners bracket round 3 matches. Starting at the top half of the bracket, we have Instinct versus Darkest Hour. D-Mac.
And this is going to be a really tough match for Darkest Hour. As we talked about it earlier, Darkest Hour, they are a young squad, and they only have one veteran on the team, and that's Legend. But when you look at this Instinct squad, they look like they're better in skill. They look like they're better with teamwork. They look like they're better on all ends, and that's going to really make it a tough time for Darkest Hour.
There's no doubt in your mind.
Yeah, there's no doubt.
I'll be honest, guys. I just looked down at my notes, and it says 3-0 sweep. Sorry, Darkest Hour. Instinct's going to crush.
All right, guys, so I think it's obvious. Instinct, 3-0 sweep. Instinct moving on to the winner's semis. Next matchup, guys, we have our 5th-seeded Status Quo versus our 4th seed Straight Rippin'. You know, after Columbus, 2 of Straight Rippin's members left after a disappointing finish. And Status Quo, on the other hand, they finally started to show that they deserve to be in the top 4. What's going to happen in this matchup?
Well, you know, guys, Status Quo, they finished 4th back-to-back events. Straight Rippin', they have had no consistency. In fact, this team is barely Straight Rippin'. T-Squared is the only member from the original Straight Rippin' still on the squad. But the other 3 guys, they're from Classic, so you know they're not bad at all. But I have to say here, I'm going with the consistency here. I think Status Quo, they're going to be better as a team. They're going to be more practice. I think they're going to be ready. Straight Rippin's going to struggle here. Status Quo should win it.
And as you mentioned, yeah, this is 3/4 of the Classic squad. And what does that mean? You saw this Classic squad get 2nd place 2 times in a row. One at the end of last year's championship, one in our opener this season. And then, but still, I have to agree with you. As far as consistency goes, and as far as having better players, I would go with Status Quo.
Really?
You know, when you look at Enable Puckett, what has he done? He's been the most positive player this season. You have to give him credit at this point. He's a monster in his own right. Flamesword, you said he's a great captain, and I love the support play out of Ace. I'm going to go with Status Quo in this matchup.
I think it's a safe bet.
All right, so Status Quo moving on to the winner's semis.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay, so there we go. Our 3rd match in round 3 is a battle between Believe the Hype and Carbon. D-Mac, you've been a Carbon fan since I can remember. You know, will they stick around and will they prevail here in round 3?
And I have been a Carbon fan, but you know what, Shibby? Things have really changed in the past couple of years. It's not the same Carbon squad we've been used to seeing. Now they have Walshy and SK on the same team. I don't believe that they possess the same amount of firepower that they have in the past. They only have one superstar player in my eyes in Nated. And then when you look at the other side and Believe the Hype, they arguably have 4 superstar players. And that's going to be really tough for Carbon to get past them. I don't think it's going to happen.
As I said earlier, I don't even think Carbon will be here. Believe the Hype should blow them out of the water if they're playing well. Well, even if they're not playing well, they should beat Carbon.
You know, I'm going to have to agree. I mean, if Carbon makes it this far, I definitely do not see them getting past this matchup.
Well, I wouldn't completely take Carbon out of the matchup. If Believe the Hype isn't playing well, don't get it twisted. Carbon will jump on.
I'm telling you, D-Mac, you're going to be surprised by this team. You just wait.
All right. So we have Believe the Hype moving on. Guys, our last matchup in winner's bracket round 3 is between our number 7 seed and our number 2 seed. This one's going to be a good one, guys. Final boss versus Triggers Down.
And I have to say, Shibby, now a lot of people here, they might not know this new Triggers Down. I have to say, after watching them at the LAN, I was extremely impressed. Now, before the LAN, I would say Final Boss 3-0 sweep, no doubt. Triggers Down has been struggling so far this season. But at the land, this team looks scary. They have 2 of the top 5 players in my book, Neighbor and Hysteria, on the same squad. And in the middle, they have Best Man and Tots, who did all the dirty work, they did great support, and they allowed their superstars to really catch fire. I think if Final Boss is sleeping, or if they're not taking the match as seriously, even if they're playing at 90%, I think that Triggers Down can win this one. Wow. But I have to say, Final Boss, they're going to bring it for this match. They got a little wake up at the LAN. They will win here.
And that's what you do at the LAN. You go at the LAN, you go to the LAN, and you figure how each team is going to play, how each team has improved. And when you look at this Final Boss squad, what I really like is the fact that they've made adjustments time and time again. How many times have we seen them down, Puckett, 2-0 in a series, and you see Final Boss win 3 games in a row? We've seen them do that 2 tournaments in a row now. I love what Final Boss is doing. I think they're going to continue to improve. Pistola is finally getting into his comfort zone again. And that's why this Final Boss squad, they should have no trouble with this Triggers Down team, even though they're improved.
So Final Boss advances. We have our winners from round 3. When we come back, we'll take a look at our final 4 in the winners semis. Stay tuned. Welcome back to the 2010 Raleigh Bracket Show, presented by Old Spice. We are now down to our final 4 teams in the bracket, and it's time to discuss our first winners semis match between Instinct and Status Quo.
Now, like I said, I love the Status Quo squad, but you got to look at the Columbus bracket, and when you look there, you see that Instinct slaughtered Status Quo. It was a 3-0 sweep. Status Quo, they make the games pretty close on land, but not when it comes tournament time. Roy and Cloud are just too good. I think once again, Instinct's going to win it, but this time around, like you said, Enable's going to heat up, and I think they take at least 1 game.
Yeah, and it's Big Brother versus Little Brother once again, and Big Brother is going to prevail.
Big Brother taught the little brother how to play the game.
Yeah, exactly. Status Quo, when I look at that team, they're basically like the Instinct squad. They're just not at that level. Not yet. If they continue to improve, they could be near the end of the season. They have potential, but not here. Instinct's going to win this matchup.
Done.
Okay, then. And Instinct continues on. We've heard that one before. And you know what? Our second MLG Saturday night match is between our number 3 seed, Believe the Hype, and our number 2 seed, Final Boss. I will be there for this one.
You're going to be there?
I would definitely be there for this matchup. This is going to be a great one.
Quite possibly the best matchup in the entire bracket. I have to say, I'm super pumped for this one. You know, I've been raving about Believe the Hype all show so far. You know I love them. But you also have to respect Final Boss's skill here. Final Boss, they looked like they just started to turn things on. They just started getting it clicking in the championship match versus Instinct. So they are definitely a scary lineup. But I do think if Believe the Hype can take game number 1 and get momentum, if they get fired up, they will carry that momentum all the way through to game 4, and they will win 3-1 versus Final Boss. They won't let them heat up.
The thing is, Believe the Hype does have somewhat of an advantage because nobody has seen them play during a tournament yet, and nobody really understands their play style. But that's the thing about Final Boss. We talked about it a little earlier. The fact that they're able to make adjustments, I really feel that if Final Boss is caught off guard in the first 2 games, they'll be able to bounce back. And that's something that they'll be able to do very well. And if that Final Boss team continues to just communicate and play well, I think Final Boss will be able to take this matchup pretty easily.
It's going to 5 games either way.
So that means Final Boss will be taking on Instinct in our winners bracket finals. Guys, which team will we see between these two go undefeated throughout the winners bracket?
You know what? I think it's that time. Instinct, they had a great run. They set the standard for the 2010 season, but I think they've kind of hit their ceiling. I'll be honest with you. I think that, you know, they are at the best that they'll ever be. And I think the other teams, they have a little bit more raw talent that they're just going to work on the teamwork and they're going to catch up. I think whether it's Final Boss or Believe the Hype here, I think they're going to hand Instinct their first loss of the entire 2010 season.
And you know, I really studied this, and how I studied it was I looked at how Triggers Down was back in the day when they were such a dominant team, and then finally somebody took them to 11 games, and they realized that Triggers Down could be beat, and the very next tournament, it was Triggers Down last tournament on top. I really feel like the same thing is going to happen here to Instinct. It's happened time and time again where you see a team just reach their peak, and then another team comes in and sweeps under them and takes over. And that's what Final Boss is going to do. Final Boss is going to take this matchup.
You know, guys, I'm going to have to say, if Final Boss beats Believe the Hype to get into this position, they're going to be on such a momentum rush that they will beat Instinct. So Final Boss going undefeated in the winner's bracket. That's going to do it for our 2010 Raleigh Bracket Show. Make sure to follow the tournament live, kicking off Friday, August 27th at 5:30 p.m. with the Hot Pockets MLG pregame show. I'm Shibby, and for D-Mac and Puckett, have a good night.